Stay tuned for the Joan Quinn Profiles. As an editor for Andy Warhol's Interview, the Los Angeles Herald-Examiner, LA Style, and Detour magazines, Joan covered the social set, the Hollywood hotshots, the international art scene, the mysteries of food, the excitement of travel, and the fabulous world of fashion. Joan continues to find creative people on the cutting edge who make things happen. Here's Joan Agajanian Quinn.
Hi, I'm Joan Quinn, and welcome to the Joan Quinn Profiles. Our guests waiting to be profiled today are Alex Kalognomos and songwriter Luther Russell. Actor-writer Alex Kalognomos was born in North Carolina and raised in Los Angeles. He earned a Bachelor of Arts from UCLA in American Literature, Communication, and Theater. We've seen him on TV, in film, and on the stage. Alex, with a major in literature and communications and theaters, what did you plan to do when you came out of UCLA?
Well, that's the thing. They didn't know what to do with me at UCLA, so they're like, you know what, you need to make your own major.
Oh, you did do that?
Yeah, I did. You can take classes from different disciplines, and it's through it's a Bachelor of Arts.
So you've got everything together, which is cool.
For me, yeah, it's very cool.
Communications is good.
That's right.
You can always go on TV and be an announcer.
And debates, and just like conversationally, it's amazing.
And theater you love, because I've seen you on the stage. And film. We've seen you in
Cinema.
film.
That's right.
One thing I haven't seen, or maybe I have, are the commercials. Where do they come in?
The commercials, they come in to keep food on my table and to
That's
get
what everybody says.
my bills paid. You know, in Los Angeles, as soon as you go and you get a theatrical agent, there's always a department to do commercials, and they have to get you out commercially. So you start going out, and it becomes part of your life. So I've done spots for Sprint, you know, cell phones, and Dr. Pepper.
What do you do? Are you just standing there? Are you talking? Are you acting?
They're quite extraordinary. I mean, the budgets that go into these little commercials. I did a commercial once for Saab cars where I had to flip 5 cars, walk up to it, pick it up, flip it, and they actually went through 5 of these beautiful Saabs, right? And then get into it and drive away. And it was for the purpose of showing that if this car ever got hit and rolled over, that you could start it and still drive away.
And so you were doing that?
So I was doing that.
So that's great. But were you going to be an actor? Was show business in your family anywhere?
Well, it was in my family, although my parents didn't want me to be an actor. Of course, that's a typical story. You come from an Armenian-American background. They want you to be a lawyer or a doctor.
Right.
Or
I know all about that.
But thank goodness for my grandmother. My grandmother was a wardrobe mistress, which means that she fit the actual clothes of the clothes that the designer was making onto the actor or the actress.
But she was couture. She did couture. She wasn't really doing stuff at the studios, or was she?
She was doing stuff at the studios whenever the designers that she worked for had a contract at the studios. For example, my grandmother worked for Jean-Louis and Bob Mackie.
Oh, so they would do films. Bob Mackie would do the TV shows,
That's right. That's right. In what's called the golden age of TV, which is when like Carol Burnett and the Sonny and Cher show, and all the movie stars would have like variety shows. And my grandmother has these like amazing stories, Joan, about the movie stars coming in to get their fittings, and it's like Elizabeth Taylor or Rita Hayworth or Marlene Dietrich, like that dress that Jean-Louis did where Marlene Dietrich is like 70 years old.
Yes.
And looks like she's got the body of a 25-year-old because
she did that?
She did one variation of that
she
for
worked
Vegas.
on that?
And for people who don't know, it was basically Marlene Dietrich would wear these shimmery see-through costumes. They looked like they were see-through.
Beige. They were like body color.
That's
with
right, beautiful.
Sequins
Head to toe, but underneath it was like this like thing.
Was it sucking
you in?
It
would like suck you in. And so my grandmother would like sew every bead onto this thing and did that for like 24 years. And she came here from Iran, had a nervous breakdown in this country the first 6 months she was here, and the doctor told her, lady, you either need to go back to your country or get a job. And so my mom and my grandmother marched out Hollywood and got her a job.
So now you can march out of UCLA and get an acting job.
And get an acting job. Oh,
really?
You have to have that.
That's really interesting because when I used to go to the studios or the workshops of James Galanos and Gus Tussell and many, even Bob Mackie, all of the women in there were Armenians. Was your grandmother Armenian?
That's right.
Oh, she was Armenian.
That's right.
They were, and these designers, and Jean-Louis as well, I guess, just knew that they had the knack for being great seamstresses.
I think so. You know, they come here with that gift from the old country, and you know, they all come from different countries because of the Armenian diaspora. And my grandmother used to sew all the clothes for her family, all of the school clothes, and the gowns, and for the boys and the girls, everything. So,
well, you have this ethnic background. Do you think it helps or hinders you?
That's a good question. I think it helps you, although you have to know exactly, you have to see yourself and define yourself sometimes even for the casting director, because the casting director will look at you and say, I don't know what to do with you.
But Sideways, they knew what to do with you.
Sideways, that was really cool. Exactly. They were casting for an Armenian family, and they had a role for a brother and a sister. And as a matter of fact, my sister, my real sister, got cast in this part. That's right.
Oh, she was?
That's right.
Oh, so the two of you were in.
We got it together. We got it together. And that was like amazing. I actually got my grandmother and my mom in there as extras as well in that big wedding scene, which a lot of my friends...
That was in Montebello
It
at
was
the
in
church?
the Montebello church. And the day my audition for that was the day that Alexander Payne, the director of Sideways, was scouting the church for the actual shots. He was looking... And we got invited to go into the priest's office and have vodka with him. And the church leaders were there drinking wine. And
so Alexander Payne was in there
Alexander
too?
Payne was in there, and he's looking at the artwork on the wall, and he says, I'm Greek.
Oh, see, I didn't know he was Greek, so that was perfect. He really assimilated, didn't he?
Totally assimilated. And his director of photography, Phaedon Papamichael, is also a Greek.
Right.
And he used to, his father was a cameraman in all of Cassavetes films. So it's like and they're like, we're going to backpack in Armenia this summer. And it was just like, it was so cool to be there with them. And they were asking all these questions and drinking shots with the priest.
That was great.
That was an incredible experience.
So what about Deuces Wild? What did you do in that?
And Deuces Wild was a 1950s gang movie. It was like all of my favorite movies, like whether you're Grease or like The Wild Bunch or Rumblefish. It was a gang movie, a very idealized version of that time by a screenwriter named Paul Kimatian. He was also Armenian, but I never met him. I never had a chance to meet him. And so I got the part, and it was like a stellar cast. There were so many actors in this film who have all gone on and done like incredible things. James Franco and Stephen Dorff and Frankie Muniz and Fairuza Balk and Debbie Harry from Blondie.
I know Debbie Harry
played
from
a mom.
Interview from Andy Warhol days.
Is that right?
Yeah, of course.
And she was amazing. She was in that film.
I saw that movie. It was great.
That's right. And Matt Dillon was in it. So it was like I was one of the deuces in that. And what I was there to do was basically just get my kicked over and over again as a stuntman kind of.
So did you play an ethnic kind of role, or were you just a gang guy?
As ethnic as I think they want you to be in a gang movie, you're just the other, so you're dangerous, you're
Right.
dark.
I see, right.
And it's probably Italian.
Yeah, and probably Italian,
Probably
right, which you
Italian.
can play.
Yeah.
And Instinct?
Instinct was a time in my life where I kept getting cast as like prisoners or junkies or gang members, and so I was a prison inmate. Who riots, and got a chance to work with Anthony Hopkins, which was just...
I know, you said that was a highlight of your career.
I think any actor's career to work with him.
You do a lot of stage as well, and one of the things that you did recently was for the Armenian Dramatic Arts Alliance. They did a reading of Three Apples. Three Apples Fell by... Micheline
and the screenplay,
Aronian Markham.
That's right. She wrote the book, and then Jose Rivera adapted the screenplay from the book.
And how did you find that? Did you feel the part you were playing?
I did, very much so. I had done Sargis, the character of a young poet whose mother hides him in an attic to protect him from the massacres that are happening in the village in eastern Turkey, where the massacres happened and where the massacres were beginning to happen before it was a genocide and called a genocide. And
it was in the 1800s, before the 1921s?
I'm almost certain.
I think around that
I'm almost
time?
certain this was like right
or
1915.
1910, yeah.
Right,
Oh, it was?
Right
it was
there,
right then? Okay.
Right there. And what happened is when Micheline was doing her book tour, she came right here to the Beverly Hills Public Library and she did a stage reading of it. And I just answered a call. They were looking for a young Armenian American actor, and I went and I read for it and I got it. And there were 4 actors reading from the book, and Micheline did a little talk. And so I got a chance to meet her, and 4 years later, the screenplay has been adapted, and she's like, you got to see this actor for this part. And through a process, I was able to connect with them, and they did the reading. That's how it happened.
Great.
So I had read Stargis from beginning to end. It's like 70 pages. It's an incredible character arc. And I told Micheline one day I'd like to do this as just a one-man performance.
Like just take that part out?
It's 70 pages. It's enough. But right now, the screenplay is going to happen, and that's like the most important thing.
What does ADA do? What does the Armenian Dramatic Association Alliance do?
Well, they cultivate playwrights and screenwriters. Because as Bianca Bogaturian says, they need to be cultivated because writers don't just happen. So they're this new organization, and they're there to help writers.
But it's only Armenians.
It's only Armenians or Armenian subject matter.
Subject matter.
Yeah, I mean, there's so many different organizations that help all different types of writers, and like there's grant money for everyone, and there wasn't one for Armenian writers. And so she's a playwright, and she just came to Los Angeles and write. I mean, she knocked everyone's socks off. She got deals for writers. She got people's work put up.
And
It's
she
amazing.
did, we did, all of us did those readings at the Fountain Theater, which were all written by Armenian. Were they all women?
They were all women.
They were women writers,
They were
weren't
all
they?
women writers. And the one that I was in was, actually, it was an Armenian American writer, but it was about the civil rights period. It was actually about a famed African American woman who had been married to a civil rights.
Was that Kristen?
That was, that's right. It was
Kristen Lazarian?
That's right. And she ended up having her work put up for the first time in this like amazing, please, not me. I shouldn't even say that because it sounds like I'm talking about myself. I'm not Joan. The other actors in that were phenomenal.
Every actor. I mean, we had an array of actors who were David Hedison.
That's right.
And Marissa Chiba. Well, she's not Armenian though, is she? Chibas.
That's right.
But we had all kinds of actors working.
That's right. Because you end up not being able to cast. I mean, you know, you're not going to always cast Armenian American actors. You're going to other actors. That's part of the challenge. So you get you know, this was African American, and so all the actors were African American.
That's right.
In this piece, and so it was just they ended up the Fountain Theater ended up first optioning that play, and now Ben Bradley is actually going to stage it.
Ed Bradley is the director. He's
That's right.
one of the artistic directors at the Fountain, along with Simon Levy.
That's right.
And he directed it, didn't he?
He directed it. And then at the last minute, he had to cast himself in it because one of the actors couldn't make it for that one. It was 3 nights. And
He's directed a lot of August Wilson's plays. He's
That's right.
directed all of them. So he has a really interesting approach to the African American lifestyle. So he would have been really good directing
He
that.
did the right thing to cast himself in that. He saved the show, and he was
Did
also
he?
directing it. And you know, that night we were so short-staffed, so he was out there in the front collecting tickets at one point, and at the same time, behind the stage, he was optioning the play, and they're going to stage it now.
So where are we going to see Alex next?
I have a very small part in Spider-Man 3. I was in Spider-Man 1 and 2, but I was playing a photographer at the Daily Bugle. But I think in the Spider-Man 3, you may actually be able to
know Alex.
Yeah, Alex is in it. But I also did. I'm writing now as well.
Oh, I was going to ask you about writing. Do you like to do that? Do you think you'll go that way more than acting?
I hope that I do go that way. Not so much more than acting. I love acting so much I could never have it not be a part of my life. But it ends up becoming a part of your life when you're an actor, and I'm developing the sense of what is good writing. And so this was actually just a vignette for the Dirty Dancing DVD. They had me do a profile on Jerry Orbach, who had always been one of my favorite actors. And when he passed away, it was like, this is devastating for so many actors who loved him. And then I got hired to do his biography for the Dirty Dancing DVD.
So that's your foray into writing?
That is my foray into writing. Not screenwriting, but actually, you know, being a biography of other actors.
That's interesting. Alex, I'm going to say your name again. Kalognomos.
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 You say it perfectly.
I had to figure it out when you said look at it phonetically. It's very easy.
That's right.
Thank you for being here.
Thank you so much, Joan.
And thanks for watching this part of the show. Don't go away because Luther Russell, our musician, will be on. Hi, I'm Joan Quinn, and welcome back to the Joan Quinn Profiles. I'm here with Luther Russell, who was born and raised in Los Angeles. He's the ultimate musician who plays several instruments, writes songs, and produces records. He comes with a musical pedigree. His grandfather, Bob Russell, was inducted into the Songwriters Hall of Fame in 1970 and nominated for 2 Oscars, along with his partner, Quincy Jones. And his uncle Bud Green was also inducted into the Hall of Fame in 1975. Luther had a short stay at Santa Monica City College. What did you do there, Luther?
I think I was taking English. I don't really recall.
How long were you there?
I like how you started off with that. That's great.
I thought that was a good opening.
I was there for 2 weeks.
I can't believe it. This is so funny. And why were you only there for 2 weeks?
Really, the truth of the matter was I was actually tired. I didn't want to be in school anymore, but I just kind of went because I thought I should. I was about 18. Half my life ago. And but I was also angry because I had a band at the time, and I wanted to play one of those lunch breaks.
Oh, is that what I wondered when you wanted to play?
And they wouldn't let me, or something. I can't remember. I remember I was probably not in a good mental state. I can't remember what happened.
What band did you have?
I had a band called the 45s.
Like the little 45?
Like the little record.
Record?
That's right, or the Gun.
Oh, the Gun.
Yeah.
Which one was it, though?
I think it was meant to be both. It was meant to be both. It was a little like kind of mod punk rock band, and we played various dives around town like Madame Wong's.
Oh, I remember Madame Wong's.
Yeah. I had a run-in with Madame Wong herself. We accidentally caved in her stage one night, and she actually chased me out of her place.
Did she?
Personally. Madame Wong's West.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
So you had a lot of other bands, though. One band was Boot Heels.
The Boot Heels.
The Boot Heels. What was that?
That was that was before the 45s.
Oh, it was?
And that was a band that actually...
So it was before you got to Santa Monica City College?
Yeah. I was in this band, the Boot Heels, with Jacob Dylan of the Wallflowers, and
is he older,
was kind of
younger?
A fluke. Oh, we're about the same age.
About the same. So did you ever work with his father?
I never. No, I never met Bob.
Never did, even though you were playing. He never came to see you guys play.
No. You know, there were rumors that he was going to, but it was odd at that time. Jacob didn't really want to be.
Oh.
No, and sort of people. It was kind of everything was masked in some sort of secrecy, even though no one knew who we were.
Was
so
it
people
in
would come
LA?
up to me after shows and say, "Are you Bob Dylan's son?" And he'd be hiding behind me. And I'd say, "Yeah."
But was it in L.A.?
It was in L.A. It was a place like the Troubadour and Madame Wong's, and
oh, it was.
We played a few gigs, but so.
Did you ever think you'd do anything besides music?
I thought when I was a kid I would maybe be a journalist because I liked that show Ed Grant a lot. Was that Ed Grant? Lou Grant.
Lou Grant.
I'm thinking of Ed Asner.
That's right.
And wow.
He was Lou Grant.
He was Lou Grant, and I kind of wanted to be a journalist, and I would write articles for local papers when I lived in Northern California, and I also started a newspaper when I was about 12.
Were you in Northern California then?
Yeah.
Well, how did this influence of your grandfather and your uncle? I mean, that's pretty heavy-duty stuff, isn't it?
You know, I didn't know my grandfather because he died right before I was born, and I did know my uncle briefly, but you know, it was just kind of what the family did. The family's always been immersed in music. You know, it's just what we knew, and.
But all awards and all these people would come over.
I didn't know about it.
Oh.
I didn't really know about that stuff. I mean, I was really close to my grandmother, who was my grandfather's wife, and you know, that was more daunting in a way because
Was she a strong woman?
she was a very strong woman, and I heard about everything through her and through my family and
But
stuff.
did she influence you to
Yeah.
be a musician?
Yeah, but she didn't discourage it. She didn't discourage it, and I'd sit with her at the piano all the time.
Did she teach you?
I think inadvertently, subconsciously, I learned a lot from her.
Because what do you play? You play piano,
Right.
organ,
I don't read though.
all by ear?
It's all by ear. I do read a bit of drum music, but
So you read drums. What
I
else do you
somehow
play?
get away with it.
Bass guitar. What
Bass
else?
guitar, guitar, bass guitar, yeah, piano, organ, drums. I've arranged, horns and strings from time to time,
Well,
but
how
it's
do you
all by
arrange?
ear.
Oh, all by ear.
Well, yeah, you kind of figure it out. And you work with people that hopefully know what they're doing. It's like sometimes when you're producing something and you're in a studio where the engineer, say for instance, knows the studio better than you do, and so you kind of collaborate in that way.
And so you have him do
so
that.
maybe a guy you're working with knows the horn better than you do, but you know the part you want to lay down. So.
The one thing your grandfather wrote, I don't know, what did he get? He was nominated for an Oscar for...
Well, the songs he was nominated for
Songs.
Oscars for were from movies.
From movies, yeah.
Obviously. And so they're less known songs. There was one called For Love of Ivy, which was a
right,
movie
I
with Sidney
remember.
Poitier. Eyes of Love, which is from a movie, I can't remember what.
Brand.
Banning or
Yeah,
something.
some-
But he's most famous for Don't Get Around Much Anymore.
Oh, that's right. There were like these two, and Bud Green also had another one that was like...
Bud wrote Sentimental Journey.
I mean, like things that you can't believe.
Yeah,
I
big,
mean, and they
big-
worked with Ella Fitzgerald and people like that, right?
Yeah, it's just crazy, yeah.
So
So
that's
many.
really all in your background.
Yeah, it
you've
is.
You've been on the stage. You've shared it with Johnny Cash and Tom Petty and Etta James. What were you doing in all
I was
these
in a
different
band called the
situations?
Freewheelers.
Oh, there we go.
That was
okay.
we were signed to Geffen and American, and we put out 2 records in the early to mid '90s, and it was a complete. We weren't like a punk rock band where we played guitars and stuff like that. There was piano and organ in there, and it was more like a band like say the Band.
Did you do that?
No,
Did you
I
play
played
those?
guitar.
You
I
played
played guitar, but
Did you sing?
I did. I was a singer and
You were
songwriter
the
of the
song.
band.
You were the.
But the antics were kind of punk rock.
Is that what you guys did?
They
Did
were
you
just-
choreograph them, or did you just?
No,
do
no.
them?
These were spontaneous things that happened.
They weren't choreographed.
No.
But they were bizarre?
Sometimes they seemed as if they were choreographed, but yeah.
Is that why people remember the Freewheelers?
I think at least locally. Not necessarily always in a good way, but we were kicked out of probably every major club in Los Angeles
so that's
at
why.
the time.
That's why you remember.
Which I wear proudly, actually. I think is great. But
But when you're on, you're like the opening act, I guess, right?
in most cases,
I mean,
but we did headline a lot of shows around
Did
here.
you?
We actually headlined a show at the Roxy once where our organ player was actually, while we were on stage, he was actually being arrested
Oh, God.
out on the street on Sunset Boulevard. But anyway, I mean, we were good musically. It was a
But
good band.
Now you're producing. You're
I
producing
am,
records.
yeah.
How do you know how to be a producer? You took Brian Bell from Weezer, right? And produced something?
We just collaborated on a project which is coming out next year, a band called The Relationship. This is a new record.
This is something that you produced with Savoir Faire?
Savoir Faire, a local talent, which we're old friends, and we made a record on the cheap, and it's a great record.
What's it called?
It's called Hooray for Hollywood, I can say.
Yeah, hooray for And what does he do?
He is a great singer, songwriter, a great guitar player. Kind of makes kind of trashy soul music, and he's actually really talented. And we've known each other a long time. He knows more about music than most people I do.
How do you find someone like him? And how do you decide that you want to produce his record?
The songs have to be good. Number one, first thing, songs have to be great.
So you have to decide the songs are good.
Yeah, and then it doesn't matter who it is or what it is. If I think they have good songs, I know that I can whip a good album out of it because no one forgets a good song, I think. And he had great songs. I knew.
But
that
he sang them all.
He sang them all, and that was one area where we needed to work a bit, but we certainly didn't have to work on his guitar playing or his songwriting abilities.
So you would take somebody like Savoir Faire, Hooray for Hollywood, CD.
Uh-huh.
Do you go any further once you've made it? Do you try to distribute it? Do you play it?
I try to help them put it out. I try. You know,
what
to do
is
my
that
best.
called when you say you try to help them?
Just help them in any way I can release it or perform with it, or if I have the time and I'm available. I mean, I did the project in the first place because I believe in it.
That's the first thing you have to do if you're going to produce something,
Yeah.
right?
I always say just, make the record, make the piece of art, and then once you have something good you can be proud of, then I think the next phase is trying to sell it, and it's a tough gig. But
Because I was wondering, if as soon as you finish it, if you're finished too, or if you have your soul into it and you think you want to go on and do more.
What's that? I'm sorry?
Like when you finish the CD, are you finished, or
I
is
see
your
what you
soul
mean, yeah.
in it and you want to do more with it?
I think once you're finished with the record, you want to keep making records with that person, and at the same time, you do want to see it succeed. So,
Yeah, because it's good for you too, right?
absolutely,
As a producer.
absolutely.
Well, it's good for
Every
us.
every little bit of feedback helps.
It's good for us that you were here.
Yeah,
Thank you.
thank you. Yeah.
Thank you, Luther, and thank you for watching the Joan Quinn Profiles. Keep writing to 777 South Figueroa, 44th floor, Los Angeles 90017. See you next time. And I'll hold this up.
All right.